Did you know that the ancient mountain kingdom of Ethiopia once had its own unique version of Judaism? Yeah, that's right. There's actually an ethnic group there known as the Beta Israel who follow a unique form of Judaism that has existed for thousands of years. So in today's episode, let's discover the fascinating tale of Beta Israel, the lost tribe of Ethiopia. Welcome to Tales of Ethiopia, where we bring untold history of Ethiopia. Before we begin, make sure to subscribe to our channel to never miss out on any of our upcoming episodes. Also, stick around until the end because we've got a crazy fact that will leave you stunned. Let's start our story with a question. Have you ever wondered why they're called Beta Israel? Well, the name Beta Israel actually means House of Israel in the ancient liturgical language of Ethiopia, Amharic. But that doesn't tell us much about who they are or where they come from. The Beta Israel, also known as the Falasha, are an ethnic group living in Ethiopia. The word Falasha is an Amharic term meaning strangers or foreigners, which is ironic considering that the Beta Israel consider themselves indigenous to Ethiopia. But don't worry, I'm gonna clear things up for you. The Beta Israel mainly live in the northern part of Ethiopia, particularly in the regions of Tigray, Gondor, Wallo, and Semen. These areas are characterized by rugged terrain and high plateaus, which may explain why the Beta Israel have traditionally been known for their fierce independence and warrior-like qualities. Talk about a hidden gem. Now, let's get into what makes them so special. The Beta Israel are known for practicing a unique form of Judaism that has many similarities to the ancient traditions described in the Bible. According to Ethiopian tradition, the Queen of Sheba visited King Solomon in Jerusalem and gave birth to his son Menelik. When Menelik grew older, he returned to Ethiopia and is believed to have brought the Ark of the Covenant with him. Some say Jewish followers came with Menelik or settled in Ethiopia during the time of the First Temple. There are many legends and myths surrounding the Beta Israel, but one of the most popular is the story of the Queen of Sheba. It's a tale that has captured the conscience of people for centuries and serves as a reminder of the rich cultural heritage of Ethiopia. Now you might be wondering, how did they end up in Ethiopia? Well, there are several theories about how the Beta Israel came to be in Ethiopia, but to stand out the most, first, the Solomonic theory. This theory suggests that the Beta Israel are descended from the union between the Queen of Sheba and King Solomon, and that they brought the Ark of the Covenant with them when they migrated to Ethiopia. This is supported by the Kebra Nagast, an Ethiopian book that tells the story of the Queen of Sheba and her son Menelik I. The book is considered to be one of the most important texts in Ethiopian history and is believed to have been written in the 13th or 14th century CE. It provides a detailed account of the origins of the Beta Israel and their connection to King Solomon. Another theory suggests that Jews arrived in Ethiopia after the destruction of the First Temple in 586 BCE, fleeing the Babylonian conquest. They supposedly migrated south along the Nile River into the Ethiopian highlands. This is supported by linguistic and genetic studies that show a connection between the Beta Israel and other Jewish communities. Whatever the origin, by the 4th century CE, Christianity became the state religion of Ethiopia, and Beta Israel became a religious minority, often isolated, sometimes respected, but frequently persecuted. Now, let's talk about their customs and traditions. The Beta Israel have a rich cultural heritage that has been passed down through generations. They have their own language, Ge'ez, which is an ancient Afro-Asiatic language that is related to Arabic and Hebrew. They also have their own traditional music and dance, which often incorporate instruments like the krar, a traditional Ethiopian lyre. One of the most striking aspects of Beta Israel culture is their traditional dress. Men typically wear a white cotton shirt and a black or blue jacket, while women wear a long white or colorful dress. Both men and women typically cover their heads with a white cloth or a small hat. Now, let's dive into their religion. The Beta Israel practice a unique form of Judaism that differs in some ways from the Judaism practiced in other parts of the world. They have their own Torah scroll, known as the Orit, which contains the 5 books of Moses. They also have their own religious leaders, called cassettes, who are responsible for teaching and guiding the community in matters of faith and practice. Unlike Rabbinic Judaism, they do not use the Talmud, a collection of Jewish laws and traditions. Instead, they follow their own oral traditions and interpretations of the Torah. When it comes to holidays and rituals, the Beta Israel celebrate many of the same holidays as other Jewish communities, such as Passover, Shavuot, and Hanukkah. They also observe traditional Jewish dietary laws and customs, such as keeping kosher and abstaining from pork. However, they have their own unique ways of celebrating these holidays and observing these laws. Now let's move on to the persecution they faced. Unfortunately, the Beta Israel have faced persecution throughout their history, often being accused of heresy or sorcery by Ethiopian Christians. In some periods, especially under certain emperors, they faced forced conversion, displacement, and economic marginalization. Despite this, they managed to preserve their faith and cultural identity for centuries. So how did they manage to stay hidden for so long? One reason for this is the geographical isolation of their communities in the Ethiopian highlands. These regions are characterized by rugged terrain and high plateaus, which made it difficult for outsiders to reach them. Additionally, the Beta Israel were largely an agricultural community, which kept them out of the public eye. They were also skilled at keeping a low profile and avoiding attention, which helped them to survive in a hostile environment. During the reign of Emperor Fasilides in the 18th century, the Beta Israel were able to establish a relatively peaceful coexistence with the Ethiopian Orthodox Church. However, this peace did not last. In the 19th century, under the rule of Emperor Tawadros II, the Beta Israel were again subjected to persecution. Tawadros was a devout Christian who sought to impose a strict form of Ethiopian orthodoxy on his subjects. He saw the Beta Israel as a threat to the unity of his empire and began to persecute them. This included confiscating their property, forcing them into slavery, and banning them from practicing their religion openly. However, the Beta Israel were able to find refuge in the mountainous regions of Tigray and Gondor, where they continued to practice their religion in secret. During the reign of Emperor Haile Selassie in the late 19th century, the situation for the Beta Israel began to improve. Selassie was more tolerant of other religions and did not actively persecute the Beta Israel. However, they still faced discrimination and were denied many of the rights enjoyed by other Ethiopians. Despite the challenges they faced, the Beta Israel continued to hold on to their faith and cultural traditions. They had a strong sense of community and solidarity, which helped them to survive in a hostile environment. They also had a deep connection to their homeland and were determined to stay in Ethiopia despite the persecution they faced. In the mid-20th century, the Beta Israel came to the attention of the world when it was discovered that they had been living in Ethiopia all along. This led to increased interest in their culture and traditions, and also brought them to the attention of the State of Israel. In the 1970s, the Beta Israel were finally recognized as Jews by the Israeli chief rabbinate based on the law of return, which allows any Jew to immigrate to Israel. However, Ethiopia was in chaos at the time, and the Beta Israel were reluctant to leave their homeland. The country was experiencing a civil war, famine, and political upheaval under the Derg regime that had seized power in 1975. The Derg was oppressive and brutal, and the Beta Israel were caught in the middle. Despite the danger, thousands of Beta Israel Jews made their way to Sudan, hoping to find a better life there. However, they faced terrible conditions in the refugee camps, and many died of starvation and dehydration. In 1984 and 1985, Israel and the United States coordinated a series of secret airlifts, known as Operation Moses and then Operation Joshua, to rescue thousands of Beta Israel Jews from Sudan. Over 8,000 Beta Israel Jewish were flown out of Sudan and resettled in Israel. After the fall of the Derg regime in 1991, Israel launched another major airlift known as Operation Solomon to bring the remaining Beta Israel Jewish to Israel in just 36 hours. Over 14,000 Ethiopian Jewish were flown to Israel in a dramatic and successful rescue operation. Today, over 150,000 Ethiopian Jewish live in Israel, making up one of the largest African Jewish communities in the world. So what happened to those left behind? After decades of lobbying by Beta Israel activists in Israel, the government agreed to bring thousands of Falasha Mura to the country. However, many are still waiting. What are the challenges faced by Beta Israel in modern times? The Beta Israel have faced significant challenges since arriving in Israel. Many have faced racism and discrimination and have struggled to integrate into Israeli society. They have also faced poverty and limited access to education and healthcare. Despite these challenges, the Beta Israel have made remarkable achievements. They have served in the Israeli Defense Forces, entered politics, and become artists, teachers, doctors, and spiritual leaders. The Beta Israel have also brought Ethiopian culture into the heart of Israeli life through their music, food, fashion, and faith. As we wrap up our journey into the hidden world of Beta Israel, we are left in awe of their resilience and determination to hold on to their unique cultural and religious traditions despite centuries of persecution. Their story is a testament to the power of faith and community in overcoming adversity. If you're interested in learning more about Beta Israel culture and traditions, we recommend checking out the resources provided. Until next time, keep exploring the world and all of its hidden wonders. And don't forget to subscribe for more fascinating journeys into the unknown. All right, guys, that was a crazy journey through the hidden world of Beta Israel, wasn't it? Now it's time for you to make your voice heard. Comment below with your thoughts and opinions on their story. We can't wait to hear what you have to say. And hey, if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button so you never miss out on our upcoming episodes. Thanks for joining us on this incredible journey, and we'll see you next time.